Welcome back, everybody. In this section, we're going to be covering the introduction to Ayurveda in the Perfect Health Program. Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old healing system. It was founded in ancient India, and it's derived from the Sanskrit word ayus. Ayus means life, and Veda, which means wisdom or science. And so really Ayurveda is that study or that ability to learn about life, right? The wisdom of life, if you will. It's really a consciousness-based system of healing. And it's that consciousness that's the underlying realm of our existence and gives rise to our thoughts, our feelings, and our perceptions. And so in essence, Ayurveda is known as the science of life. Right? So it is that consciousness that Ayurveda speaks of, where it's that energy and information that makes us self-aware. It is that entity that is doing that has the awareness of thought while you are having the thought. Who is it that is having that thought, that's aware that that thought is existing? And when you can observe that thought, that is when you've transformed yourself and moved away from being caught in the realm of the day-to-day sort of agony of our daily thoughts into the ability to be that observer or that witness. These concepts are certainly not new, but science is now catching up to ways in which we can start to quantify and identify these observations that we've had in Ayurveda many, many years ago. And so in this, when you combine the science that is coming along in terms of mindfulness and also this shift that's happening in health, we are now starting to shift our focus, moving away from the idea that disease is your final be all end all, that state of unhealth is going to be your eternal outcome, but instead starting to shift your focus through these mindfulness-based, consciousness-based practices to focus on new possibilities and start to think about health and happiness, and really realizing that your body is that dynamic and constantly transforming entity. There is nothing static in our body. Everything is constantly changing from a cellular level all the way out into our external state. And so this idea that life is in fact multidimensional becomes a critical component of what forms the basis of this consciousness-based form of healing, Ayurveda. And this is just a really beautiful way to look at the differences between Ayurveda and what we call today our Western or allopathic medicine. In Ayurveda, health is that state of vibrant balance in which all layers of your life are in fact integrated. However, in Western medicine, we really view health as that absence of disease. And so it's important to take note of this very critical difference in how health and disease is actually viewed in these two different systems. In Ayurveda, disease is not just that final diagnosis or that final state of knowing that you have, whether it be cancer or whether it be a heart disease or whatever diagnosis that our doctors have given us. But in fact, in Ayurveda, this disease concept starts quite early. It starts in the stage of accumulation. And you can even go so far as to say that it starts at an emotional level. So in the first couple of stages, it's really just an accumulation. And we talk about these different types of bodies, which we'll get into in a little bit more detail. But the idea is that even on a metaphysical level, that your body will start to accumulate energy. And that energy, whether it be in the form of emotion or certain thoughts or what have you, starts to accumulate. And in those early stages, if we start to notice and bring our awareness towards what's happening in our bodies or what's happening in our minds and our beings, we can shift that quite early before disease actually starts to manifest. But for us, who get so caught up in our thoughts and who get so caught up in our daily behaviors and things like that, they eventually start to accumulate and move into other locations. And then we get to this stage later on where you start to see physical symptoms or physical manifestations of this accumulation of energy, whether it's, an achiness or whether it's some sort of inflammatory change that's happening. Again, still very early, where we wouldn't in medicine actually diagnose it as a disease yet, but we might notice under a microscope, for example, that there are some changes going on in terms of the cellular metamorphosis that's occurring. And then finally, in the fifth and sixth stage, the actual disease manifestation, what we call diagnosis, or where we actually will medically classify this as an actual disease. So in Ayurveda, there's an opportunity to intervene in all these four stages even before you actually get to disease manifestation.